jumping into what could be the final part of this series, I take that fateful step, then there's no going back. It's Sydney time. We lead a Claire vs Sableye. Between the whole team, we begin to intimidate it down until Biscotti can come in and toxic it. Eventually, he does drop her defense, twice, with Shadow Ball, but that's nothing another Switch can't help with. We're left with around 200 HP when Toxic finally finishes him off, with Sydney sending him a champ. Pretzel takes advantage of its immunities to get in a free switch, then it's back to Biscotti. The plan was to use Machamp's superpower recoil to get some chip on it, then air slash KO, but even though superpower is guaranteed to do more damage than Rock Slide, since I'm slightly damaged from poison, he could see a KO and use that instead, which is what ends up happening, thrice. So I switched to the backup plan, getting Machabite in on a hidden power, fake out for the chip, then head back to Biscotti to take the superpower this jerk finally decides to use, then get off that darned air slash, finally taking it down. Crackers, with its million resistances and immunities, comes in against Alakazam. He could have Thunder Punched, but we get the sidekick and stat drop as well, though she did her job, letting Candy Apple switch into a hidden power then Shadow Ball KO. Next in is Jolteon, who can barely scratch Crackers, so an Earthquake finishes him rather easily. Tauros is pretty straightforward. Starting off with some Intimidates from Eclair, we then get in Biscotti to Toxic it while keeping herself safe. Now, the plan was supposed to be I'd switch in Machabite the turn Tauros was going to die, so I could fake out then Surf to KO the incoming Houndoom. But because he's slightly damaged, it's no longer safe. Thankfully, I was able to instead switch in Pretzel the turn Tauros goes down, and even after an Intimidate drop from Houndoom, Bassard can still straight up one-shot. Wow, Pretzel can be a real beast when she wants to. 1 down, 4 to go. Phoebe leads Gengar. I've heard she never uses Destiny Bond on turn 1, which is the move I'm most worried about, so Candy Apple Shadow Balls straight away, which either one-shots, or as is the case, does enough for Shadow Sneak to KO the next turn before she can do anything. Next in is her own Dusclops. It begins double teaming as we begin PP stalling, which is really one of the only ways to safely take this thing out. Once it's struggling, we can take all the time in the world to get it toxicked, of which we only miss a handful of times. All we have to do is keep healing up from here, until the poison does its job. We send in Crackers against Guardy to take a T-Wave, then it's into Candy Apple, who can hit hard after barely feeling a Fire Punch. Though unfortunately, Guardy does decide to go for the power again, and we're immediately fully paralyzed, both this turn and next. I don't feel safe keeping him in anymore, so we have to once again move to a backup plan, pivoting through Biscotti to Crackers, then into Machabite, who fake outs. After some more pivoting, we get off another fake out, though unfortunately his Lumberry is used up in the process. Finally, we get a Claire in, and unfortunately we can't quite get the KO, so I go for an air slash, hoping for a flinch, which we end up getting. This lets us take her down. Ludi comes out, we air slash, Ludi goes down. Crobat is next, and this is another potentially awkward spot, as if she air slash flinches us, then we're in just a little trouble. But she doesn't, letting us get off a Rock Tomb to drop her speed so flinch isn't an issue anymore. From here we pivot, but I realize the chip isn't enough for Pretzel to take the KO, so we send in Crackers. During all this switching, Crobat just keeps missing Hypnosis, which is really rather convenient. Furthermore, Crackers crits with Rock Slide, very cool. This lets Eclair come in to deal the finishing blow. Sableye is another PP stall, using Pretzel's immunity to Ghost and Candy Apple's immunity to Fighting. When she's struggling, our girl Biscotti switches in to just heal up Toxic, once I'm done missing thanks to the ever-annoying double team, and then rather anticlimactically, Poison takes her down, winning us battle number 2. Glacier is next, and I have two potential starts against her Glalie. One is better if she uses spikes, and the other is best if she attacks. And as far as I'm aware, she can do either. I ultimately decide to go with the attack plan, as it seems less risky, though the high risk, high reward of one-shotting with Candy Apple's Focus Punch could have put us in a great spot. It also could have wasted turn after turn as she chips away at us with free damage though. We lead Eclair to get off an Intimidate, then it's into Biscotti to take an Ice Beam, and she is frozen. One of the worst possible things to happen. Unless of course we defrost straight away, getting off our Surf for around 2/3. With Glailie's HP being so low, the chance of her going boom increases, so in comes Candy Apple. She explodes and we're immune. A great start. Against Lapras, Matcha Bite switches into a Hydro Pump, fake outs for a bit of chip, then we Giga Drain to hit her to the yellow and heal up. Only to get hit back down to around half with an Ice Beam. It is arranged to kill Lapras, and unfortunately we don't get it, so we're hit back down to a little under half. Another Giga Drain though, and we go up against Regice. This turn doesn't make or break the run, but we could be put in a rather unoptimal position for the rest of the Elite Four. Now, there is a way to beat this Regice and keep Crackers alive, but this is the final bosses, so I want to minimize the number of crits we're vulnerable to. And sacking Crackers means we're only vulnerable to one. At the very least, we get a free switch if Regice Ice Beam crits, but I'd much prefer we get the damage off with Crackers going boom. Regice actually ends up using Counter, which is the ideal situation, other than it blowing itself up before we have the chance, I suppose. Counter means it can't crit, and we get off our attack before it can move, hitting them to the red, for Candy Apple to priority Shadow Sneak KO. Thanks for all your hard work, Crackers buddy. Matcha Bite is back out against Dugong, and I'm shocked when Surf hits her all the way to the red, until I see we would crit. First missing the range against Lapras, and now being critical hit, Matcha Bite is not having a great time this battle, though he's still holding steady, going for a fake out Giga Drain combo to flinch then out heal any damage she could hit us with. Another Giga Drain and Wailord is sent in. This is another tense turn, as though she's not likely to go boom and kill us due to being at full HP, there's always a chance. We Giga Drain for a little under half. She goes for Amnesia. Whew. Hoping for a self-destruct this turn, we send in Candy Apple, but she just amnesias again. This means she'll either Amnesia or Water Spout next turn. So Matcha Bite is back, with both Recoil and Fake Out chipping away at Wailord's health. Though thanks to the special defense raises, Giga Drain won't take her down from here. Instead, it's back to Candy Apple, and this time, Wailord goes boom. Swampert is 4 times weak to grass, so once again, Matcha Bite is carrying this battle, though he's crit again on the switch in. We don't get the accuracy drop, so it's GG Glacier as Giga Drain one-shots. Wow, this is going really smoothly overall. I'm really feeling this is the run at this point. But getting overconfident is the first step to losing in some dumb way. Let's just take Drake turn by turn. And look, when I planned my Steven fight, theoretically, all I needed are Eclair, Candy Apple, Matcha Bite, and Biscotti. So Pretzel can be sacrificed if needed during the Lance battle, and I feel it's needed to take down Latios. Turn 1, we endure, he hits us to 1 HP, then we endeavour, bring him down to 1, at the cost of Pretzel's life. RIP, friend. Matcha Bite can then come in and fake out for the KO. Against Tyranitar, Matcha Bite can surf for around 2/3. He then Dragon Dances. Not ideal, I'd rather he just attacked, but it is what it is. This means it's best if Matcha Bite gets out of there. Eclair intimidates him back to neutral, while shrugging off a hidden power. Then it's into Biscotti. He ancient powers and thankfully does not get the Omni boost, meaning Biscotti can surf finish him off. Dragonite can't KO us from where we are, so we begin healing up. though Dragonite gets off a Dragon Dance in the process. That's nothing an Intimidate from a Claire can't solve. From here, it's just a matter of healing off any damage he deals, while periodically getting off Intimidates when necessary. Now, most crits haven't really had a big impact, but then Dragonite Extreme Speed crits a Claire on an Intimidate, hitting him down to 11 and essentially taking him out of the rest of the battle. Worst case scenario, honestly, though he's done his part well enough against Dragonite. There's no chance that Biscotti dies here. She just keeps healing, then getting off Ice Beams when her HP is high enough. His own Salamence comes out to Intimidate, Dracomedia us to the yellow, then die to an Ice Beam. Kingdra isn't quite as easy as that, unfortunately. I'd planned to get off more Intimidates than I'd ended up with thanks to the crit, which would have meant Biscotti had more HP coming into Kingdra, and thus could do her whole out-heal thing. But thanks to that stupid crit, this just isn't the case anymore. Out of my 4 remaining Mons, I feel Machabite is the most disposable. He only had a small part to play in the Steven plan, essentially just taking out Starmie and then dying so I can have a free switch. Losing him would put me in a worse position for sure, but it's not run ending, so I switch him in against Kingdra, whose Dracomedia immediately knocks him to under half. But once he's not crit thankfully though, he gets off a little fake out damage, then another Dracomedia from Kingdra takes him down. With HP only slightly above half, our poor damaged Eclair gets a free switch to outspeed and KO. He's down to his last Mon, Latias. Candy Apple is hit for around a third on the switch in. She then Calm Minds, which is honestly super ideal, as a Dragon Claw crit could have taken us down here, and that would have been all but game over. Instead, our Shadow Ball hits hard. Down to the red she goes, only for a priority Shadow Sneak to get the KO next turn before she can move. Phew, that was a stressful battle. We're down an additional Pokemon compared to what I had planned, so we're forced to adapt, and here's what I come up with. He starts with Metagross, while we have Eclair to get off an Earthquake, as he Agilities. Here Candy Apple comes in. In an ideal world, Metagross goes boom. Otherwise, we can Shadow Ball, Shadow Sneak, KO him. And hey, this one goes our way. Very nice. Candy Apple takes a Psychic well enough before we get off a Shadow Ball to knock him down to the yellow. Here is another point where I'm stressing about a crit. Though in the end, Mewtwo uses Shadow Ball, which on average does less than Psychic. So we actually would have survived the double damage. Another Shadow Ball means Mewtwo is down. As this is not the defense form of Deoxys, it can't even take a Shadow Sneak. Another one bites the dust. Then there's Starmie, who we don't have Ludi to KO. Instead, Candy Apple gets off a priority Shadow Sneak to at least get off some damage before going down. Wait, Starmie missed its Hydro Pump. Our boy lives. Another Shadow Sneak and we're met with Jirachi. Though this whole living thing is a little, well, short-lived, as I need to safely get in Eclair. At the very least, Candy Apple gets us some damage before going down. At the worst, though, Jirachi gets an attack rise from Meteor Mash. And furthermore, we just miss out on the KO with EQ, meaning Jirachi hits us to a little above half before we get the finishing blow. Then there's just Aerodactyl left. This is where we say goodbye to Eclair, so Biscotti can get a final free switch and surf for the one-shot. It's over. We've won. It's literally just me and Biscotti left, but we've won. Wow, I was unsure if this day would ever come. Just hooray. It's over. It's finally over. Rather a bittersweet moment, really. So what's next for this channel? I mean, I created it to document my EK Nuzlocke journey, and that's over now. Well, I do have more Pokemon Challenge vids I want to make in other games, but also non-Nuzlockes in Emerald Kaizo. Like I'm working on, can you beat Emerald Kaizo without taking damage at the moment? And though I've not finished the run, I'm a decent chunk of the way in, and spoilers, I'm starting to think the answer is probably yes. I still have a way to go, so that probably won't be my next vid, but hopefully it should start coming out next month. If you've enjoyed any part of this series, I'd love for you to stick around. And of course, thank you for watching, and hey, hopefully I'll see you next video.